Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Today, I'll be talking about the Supreme Court denying student loan forgiveness by Biden's executive order. There are many things to unpack here, but I'm going to just touch on a couple of things. Well, first, this was a campaign promise made to millions of desperate students and ex-students that have mortgaged their future in debt way beyond their ability to repay these loans. Couple that on the heels of a raging pandemic, and people were ready to believe almost anything, including the stuff that Biden was spewing. So that brings us to where we are in the present day. And we find out the Supreme Court says it's unconstitutional for an executive order to relieve all that debt. And that is up to Congress to adjudicate. So just for full disclosure, I agree with the ruling, by the way. I think that, why should the rest of American taxpayers relieve the debt of other taxpaying individuals, right? There's plenty of people who paid off their student loans, and there's plenty of people who have to pay loans that they'll never get forgiveness for. So these folks made a choice, and they should be made to live on those choices and pay it off as they go. And just focus on that. Sacrifice, pay off your loans. There's a lot of people who have done it. What makes this more egregious is that the Pell Grant really, it's only 20K that it's going to relieve, and then 10K for non-Pell Grant, and this is provided you make under 125K per year. So people with loans of 50, 60, 100, $150,000, even if they got relief of $20 or $10,000, their loans would still be in default position. They would still have to be in a proper frame of mind to pay back those loans. So if I had $150,000 worth of student loan debt and I got 20,000, I'd appreciate it, but I'd still have 130,000 to repay. So that payment will still be pretty high. And the same things that prevented me from paying back the 150,000 loan, there's a good chance I can't pay back 130,000 either. So essentially, that'll be just throwing good money, taxpayer money, after bad money, right? I mean, how is that different? So it was a good thing that the Supreme Court said, hey, well, let Congress adjudicate this. If you come up with something that Congress could agree with and they want to relieve the debt, then they could do that because they'll probably take it out of something else, okay? So now Biden automatically now says he has a new solution. He has a new solution to get votes in 2024. So he says he can, justify, and here's the key word, justify certain student loan debt reduction based on using a 1965 law called the Higher Education Act. Now, listen, I'm going to play a short clip on the act and why he thinks this will work. But, so I'll be using some footage that I got from Anton Daniels, and I'm going to put the full video that Anton Daniels did in my description. But the truth of the matter is, if this Student Loan Reduction Act was a good choice, how come he didn't use it in the first place as opposed to the Executive Order Act? So I'm just saying to you, listen, to me, this choice is no better than any other choice, right? I mean, how is this choice better? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the hit that video. I'll hit it with you second, but just something came to mind, right? I encourage folks to think about what Biden is saying, and what we don't want to do is fall for the banana in the tailpipe again, because that's essentially what that is. So I'm gonna stop sharing here, and I'm gonna put that video up, and we're gonna take a little quick look at it and see, see if there's anything of benefit that we could benefit from. And this is about a little student loan. Here it is. Okay.
Got a haircut, probably go to Supercuts. Let's see what his plan is.
Recognizes he's in better shape than a lot of other grads who have far more loan debt, but was still crushed by the court's ruling.
I'm extremely disappointed because we already pay so much to go to school, and it's so hard to get a job out of college, like 6 figures to get an undergraduate degree. It's frustrating.
I think the court misinterpreted the Constitution.
President
Biden said he think the court misinterpreted the Constitution. The Supreme Court. Yo, this is y'all president. Y'all president said that the Supreme Court, I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Don't worry about it. The Supreme Court misinterpreted the Constitution. Wow.
Biden also expressed frustration and within hours of the court's decision had unveiled a new plan to achieve widespread student loan forgiveness. The Higher Education Act, which dates back to
They always put a nice spin on it. This is the new plan. Nice, shiny. We polishing it up right now. We already had it prepared. We didn't expect for this thing to ever pass, even though y'all voted us into the office in the first place. We already had another plan just in case it didn't pass. And we're going to lean on the Higher Education Act plan, subsidize student loan, evangelistic house of God plan to get back in office. And guys, if you don't vote for me this time, guess what? We're not going to forgive your student loans. Let's hear what the Higher Tax Education Episcopal Church plan is doing this time.
1965 was designed to ensure every American, no matter their income or background, would have access to higher education.
This new path is legally sound. It's going to take longer, but in my view, it's the best path that remains to providing for many borrowers.
Now, this new path, it's going to take even longer. But in my opinion, is definitely the best option, and we're going to make sure that you guys get your forgiveness eventually. This kind of remind me of Dr. Umar Johnson saying that he going to get that school built and he going to get y'all kids in there. But listen, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we got the plan. Cool. We got the plan. We got the FBG, ABCD, EFG school that's going up. Hit the Cash App. We hit the Cash App, right? And then he said, all right, cool. So eventually we're going to get this built, but we got this window broken. And we black contractors, they didn't want to work with us. They didn't want to sell the school to us because the Catholic people said that black people don't deserve schools. All right, cool. Allegedly, right? That's my interpretation of it. And then he said, listen, I know y'all gave it to me 10 years ago, and I know your kid was 10 and now they 20, but we got to make sure that we take care of the new generation because I'm going to make sure that I'm going to build this for the kids. So make sure that we continue to rock out. This is very similar. It's the same playbook. It's the same playbook, in my opinion. Biden, by the time he get out of office, he gonna then kick that can down the road. We got term limits. If he votes in, we know that the black women is gonna continue to rock out with him, including the black men that's then black women. And we know that y'all gonna continue to give him 2 terms. And then Kamala Harris is gonna come right behind him and she gonna rock out. Let's see what the new plan is, guys.
As possible.
This new process could take more than a year and would require a public hearing. It's still not.
And guess what? That's right after the election. Ain't that wild? This new plan, it's going to take at least a year. And it will probably, listen, if you voted for it, it's going to go into office right after the presidential election, and he's going to work on y'all behalf. Let's go ahead. Let's hear it.
Clear how far this new plan would go. Biden's original action had sought to forgive $10,000 for all federal student loan borrowers and up to $20,000 for low-income Pell Grant recipients.
How is this any different than the last plan? How is this any different? This look, honestly, now look, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. This looked like the exact same plan.
Recipients. Critics of Biden's plan, who supported the Supreme Court's decision, say student loan forgiveness on this massive scale is up to Congress to authorize.
Watch this. Hold on. Let me go back and show y'all the plan again. Give me a second. Up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients, $10,000 for non-Pell Grant recipients, so we only doing it up to $125,000 of your income. So anybody less than that, you qualify. How is this any different? I'm reading Super Chat shortly. How is this any different than the last plan that y'all got pitched? $10,000 for you, $20,000 for you, and as long as you're not a high income earner, as long as you're not a high value man, you get the money. It's gonna take us a year to get it in office right after the election. But if you not black if you don't vote for me. How is this plan, honestly, how is this plan any different than the last one?
Let me stop that right there. I'm gonna stop sharing it. And so you get the gist. How is this plan any different than the other one? Right? What is he offering that is anything new? And what's the chances that his term is going to finish before you get your loan reduction? I don't think that is possible. I just think it's some more, lip service that he's paying everybody. And, and he expects that we're supposed to fall for the okie doke, once again. So, we complain and we can say a lot of things. So what is the solution? What is a solution? I have a straightforward proposal for a student loan, for future student loan requirements and reductions. Okay. My solution, I call it the Student Loan Requirement and Limits Act. Let me say it again. The Student Loan Requirements and Limits Act. Unfortunately, this won't do anything for the people who are current debt holders. You made that bed, you got to sleep in it. And if you have to have more loans, just to help you in the future be a little bit more, I would say, I guess, think a little bit more on how much money you borrow and what kind of return on the investment you're going to get for what kind of job or what kind of profession that you're going to be in. Right. So that's the key. Right. So when I talk about this first, I would, if I was Congress, so this puts it in the hands of Congress. This is what the Supreme Court says. So if I'm going to lobby this thing to change and have long lasting change for student loan, the people who need to go to college or higher education, we need to take it to Congress. We don't need the president giving us some hollow ass dream. We need to go through the houses of Congress so we can get it put into law. That's what you need, right? So first, I would say that the folks who want to be in this business of giving student loans out to the generations coming up and going through college, I would say they should have some kind of graduating scale, some kind of scale based on the profession and the curriculum the student chooses. Now, if I want to go to school for liberal arts, I'm not loaning you $100,000. You're not going to get $100,000 for that. And you don't need to go to an Ivy League school for that either. You can go to a mid-level college or something lower, and I'll give you 10 grand. 10 grand a year. You can get your underwater basket weaving. You can get your humanities degree. You can get, those kind of things for that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving you a lot of money for that. You want to get a degree in human resource management, right? So that's a little step up. You get a little bit more money. Let's just say I'll loan you maybe 15 grand a year. Or a little bit more than that, because all the big businesses need strong human resource departments because we live in a litigious society. They have to have strong HR rules so they don't get sued when a man grabs a girl's butt or some, guy makes an advance in the elevator or some bullshit like that, right? So you need to have something to that profession. You can get a job. And that job might pay you enough where you have a reasonable expectation to pay back your loans. If you want to go into the STEM, you may be able to borrow around 30 grand a year or something like that to get to a better college. If you don't have any supplemental, grants and things of that nature to get to college. If you're not on a free ride or something like that, right? So we'll give you more money because if you're an engineer, a cybersecurity specialist, any of those fields, chances are, one, if you're a new employer, a lot of them pay back a lot of your loans. That a lot of them do the better jobs, and then you'll be making enough salary to have a reasonable expectation to pay back your loan as well. And the other thing I would do, and if you want to be in a legitimate pre-law or pre-med program, you should be able to borrow a little bit more because those professions pay a little bit more. But you have to be able to know reasonably assured that you will pass and get your degrees in these higher professions. So this way, we're not having the mass amount of, like, for example, black women. They say they're the most educated, but they're the most in debt because they go for these humanitarian and communication degrees that they can't get no jobs with. They still make less than, $40,000 a year, on average. Now they got some rich sisters, great, but we're talking about one percenters. We're not talking about the masses of women who are toiling hours and hours to make minimum wage. So you can't have this big loan so you can go to some prestigious school, but you're going to go get underwater African American studies. Not just African American studies, but African American studies that's underwater in Atlantis or somewhere like that, searching for, some nomad or some shit like that. Right? That's not no good. You shouldn't be able to get $100,000 worth of loans for some bullshit like that. Let's save yourself. Let the Lord save you from yourself. Save you from yourself. Go to a junior college. Go somewhere if you want to just play around with some academics and read books. You don't need to borrow $100,000 for that. Right? And here's the thing I would do to lenders. I would cap all student loans at 3%. They don't have to be 3%. You want to be generous, do it at 1.5%, 2%. But the students should not have to pay more than 3% back on each of their loans. And it shouldn't be predatory, and they should have all kinds of flexible, I could pay in advance kind of programs. Because they can, it's so funny that Congress can do anything like that. They could cap the amount of money people make back, and that'll mean that people won't be just, dying and dry, just drowning in debt because they can't pay back the percentage rate on $100,000 loan that's 7 and 8%. They're not making any inroads on the principal, right? None. So we could change that with a stroke of a pen. You put that shit through the House, you put it through the Senate, you put a shit on the president's desk and say, you made us a promise, sign this shit and shut up. And let's move on, right? And so all future loan debts are under the strict rule, and hell with the lenders' lobbies. Do something for the people. Hey, listen, you know what? So just finally just thinking about this. Whether you like my plan or not, I strive to have some kind of solution, for the problem that we have. And, that's the problem. I don't see the solutions coming out of Congress. What's the proposals? My proposal is the Student Loan Requirement and Limits Act. It may not be optimal, but it's better than letting future students continue down this same track of racking up debt that they can never repay because the professions they choose is letting them over borrow. It's crazy. Here's the thing that this does. One, if you're saddled in debt like that at 22 years old, you can't think about buying a home. You can't qualify for a new car. You can't build a business because you can't get a loan from nobody because you're saddled with $100,000 or more debt. Here's another thing that stops. If you're a man or a woman, you're not a good candidate for marriage. Why would a man or a woman marry somebody with $150,000 worth of debt going in? First of all, nobody loves each other that much anymore. People are getting divorced based on bullshit. I'm not happy today. I'm not happy tomorrow. Why would I take on your $150,000 of debt when our marriage might not last 3 or 4 years? That doesn't make any sense. So people are stopping it. People are not dreaming. Their dreams are not just delayed. Dreams are being killed by this stuff. So we need to make a solution. So this is mine. Maybe it's not the best, it's just something that came off at the top of my head. But one thing that's true is that if you're going to school for one of these stupid degrees, You should not be able to borrow $100,000 or $200,000 for 4 years. Why? And then don't tell me that, well, you can't discriminate like that. Well, everybody who has a loan, you have to pass the right requirements or they don't give you a loan. It's not redlining. This is not based on race. This is based on stupidity, right? Every loan that you have has a list of qualifications. So here's another one. If you want to go for underwater basket weaving, you don't qualify for a $50 semester loan. You just don't. So that's my solution. What's yours? Right? Be sure to put some comments to this then. You don't like what I said? Come up with your plan. Tell me about it. We could have a discussion in the comment section. But please like, share, subscribe to my channel because I'm coming back with some more stuff. You know, I talk about politics, I talk about sports. Just look at my thumbnails to tell you all where I'm at. This one is a little bit more political. And the next one, I'm going to talk about a little bit more relationships. I might hit this Keke Palmer thing and my take on it. You know, I have fun doing this. I want to have fun with you guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment to my channel. Our Pain, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Over and out.